So the fun part about tuning into a message like mine is to understand how I seek out my strategic allocation to the stock market. This is just one of those examples. This is a taxable brokerage account through M1 Finance that I invest in the sector specialty ETFs with Vanguard. It's a completely passive account. It's one of those that I established to provide some assistance in breaking down barriers on getting to that first $10,000 mark. And I think for a lot of new investors, that is the critical first step. If you're not there, take this as motivation, as maybe a testimonial on how I've done it. This account was built up to the $10,000 mark in around 14 or 15 months or so. So it's very, very possible to do. And it's probably easier than you think to do in probably a shorter amount of time. So guys, stick around here. We're going to roll out the M1 Finance sector portfolio for you guys. Stay tuned. All right, so we'll cordially welcome back everybody into the M1 Finance account for the Vanguard Sector Specialty ETF portfolio. This is as real as it gets. This is a cool portfolio that I use one out of my 10 income streams to fund over time. This is completely passive. You guys can get a strategic angle to how I seek my exposure in this unique manner. This is a very, very small percentage of my portfolio, again, less than 3% in this. And this is just a repository for one of my income streams. This is an example of a 100% passive portfolio. A little bit more advanced, I think, than just putting your money into the Vanguard's S&P 500, which I do in other accounts in much larger amounts. But I think this is an extremely interesting way of seeking exposure to the total stock market using the sector specialty ETFs. Which, for you guys that don't know, there's 11 sectors in the S&P 500. For example, your technology, your discretionary staples, utilities, telecom, energy, industrials, and down the line. So we're exposed to all 11 of them. And the cool thing about M1 Finance is the ability to take each of those 11 and split my dollars in the way that I determine in the allocation that I desire in this portfolio. So I think there's a lot of investors out there that can tune into this method and say, wow, either one, well, Ryan's making money. I'm up in all 11 of these, I believe. I don't check this very often. I only check it in an official capacity when I'm looking to roll it out to the subscriber base and YouTube audience. This is very real. This is my account. This is real money, and this is a product or a byproduct of a dollar cost average passive type of approach with this little angle. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are trying to pursue the Teslas and the Neos of the world. I just think sometimes people need to ask themselves why they invest. Are they investing for the excitement and the euphoria that's provided therein, or are they doing it for money? And I think you should be really honest with those answers when rhetorically answering those for yourself. We're up $3,000 here on a relatively small portfolio. I think this $10,000 mark is really should resonate with the younger crowd. I think if you're 18 to 22 and you don't have $10,000 of invested capital, that alone should be your first goal. It shouldn't be to trip and fall into your Viper. It should not be to retire overnight. It should not be to retire before 30. Sorry to burst your bubble. Your focus should be making that first $10,000. No more, no less. And you can do it. You can absolutely do it. This portfolio took me about 15 months, I guess, to get to my first 10,000, just with a very conservative dollar cost average schedule and some strategic fund ups. You can see here that the fund ups occurred strategically during certain times where I thought that the market was conducive to taking a little bit more than my dollar cost average schedule and boop, funding it up. And did the same here. The portfolio, this is working, and then boop, a nice little fund up here, which were which were nicely timed, and then the rest of the time is just a dollar cost average schedule that basically just inflows into this account with my knowledge, yes, but sometimes it comes out and it flows in there. I don't care. I don't miss the $25 every 2 weeks I do to this account. Nothing too crazy. And then also the $233 in dividends, so nothing to shake a stick at. Originally, when I started this account, I was making pennies in dividends. Now when these pay, I make a few dollars each. But you can see how just pennies and dollars can add up over time. And this is what I hope really separates me in my YouTube opportunity for people, is that they can really relate with my ability to take pennies and turn them into dollars, and take dollars and turn them into hundreds of dollars. Because in the trenches, wealth building is just that, the ability to take a little amount of money and turn it into something special. So up over $3,000 in this account, 3,200 just shy of. I have done nothing to this. So while you guys are going back and forth, losing 25% on NEO, trying to catch the right entry on everything under the sun, I'm making money as a turtle here. So, just make sure you're picking correctly. The whole onus that there is no emotion in investing really does hold true over the long term. And I said at the top of this coverage that we were up in all of these. Well, there it is. And I don't know, for a young investor, maybe looking to shoot for the stars, this might not be that impressive. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't do this to impress people. I do this to provide real talk, real account results in a real account. And I'm just about as real as they come. I do this for me. To provide this in an awareness piece over YouTube, you absolutely can benefit from this and understanding how I'm seeking my strategic access to the market here. But just a few things to cover here when we update this. All 11 are up in the green. Fantastic. Some of these up are just significantly up. I mean, I'm up over $600 here just in the technology ETF with a relatively small amount of money. And I've had a lot of people come to the channel and they're like, well, I'm interested in the technology ETF, but I'm not interested in any one of the others. I think that's really, really shallow application. My personal opinion on this issue is very, very simple. You can own one or two of these, but chances are you're probably going to own those one or two, and you're going to be zigging when the market is zagging. In other words, trying to pick the right sector at the right time to invest in when there's not sector rotation going on is very, very difficult. My solution to that is to own them all. Own them all, okay? Assign your strategic allocation in a way that says, you know what, I want the lion's share of my money to go into technology, but what Ryan said is don't forget healthcare. Don't forget financials. Don't forget consumer discretionary staples, industrials, utilities, some real estate exposure, because those areas, though they might be underperforming when you invest in your favorite sector, like let's say technology, you're going to have these other sectors at some point pick up steam. Case in point is energy right here. This I was down in for the entirety of owning this portfolio, and just recently here, it's caught some really good fire and momentum. Had I not been invested in energy at the time and really dollar cost averaging the bottom, then I wouldn't have got to enjoy some of the fruits of not only buying the bottom, but having just a little dab of exposure. Nothing crazy, 7% here to energy. And so I was able to enjoy the capital appreciation. And $200 bill is nothing to shake a stick at when we're talking about less than $1,000 investment in energy specifically. So you can kind of understand the method to my madness. If you were going to take 100% of your capital and just lump it all into technology, okay. I just think that the better strategic plan is to couple the technology and power of M1 Finance to just own the entire kit and caboodle. So with that, guys, we will conclude this review of the sector specialty ETF. I'll kick you back to YouTube. We'll conclude the video. So I appreciate you guys staying tuned for the totality of the sector specialty ETF portfolio. The real takeaways here is I put zero effort into this. On the onset, building the portfolio and assigning the allocation that suited my desire in how I wanted to seek out my exposure to the 11 sectors. That was really the only work that's gone into this. And since then, it's just been a funding exercise, paying myself first and putting it into a vehicle or a bucket that allows me the opportunity to do other things while this strategic bucket is working. Guys, if you notice, a method to my madness is very, very simple, okay? Create multiple assets buckets that have the ability to work while you're doing other things with your time. It is not rocket science. It's completely scalable, and anybody out there can participate in this very, very simple wealth building program. You're not going to tune into one of my videos and get the totality of my strategic approach to building wealth over time. But if you are a devout member and subscriber to the channel, great. You're an empowered investor building wealth for you and your family, guys. If you're not, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave your comments at the bottom. Share this message with anybody out there that you may know that may not consider YouTube to be an interesting spot to get a financial piece. Bring them onto the channel. We welcome anybody. I have a nice opportunity to share my story to people. Anybody can do this. It's 100% scalable. Anybody who has a little bit of desire to build wealth for themselves can absolutely win in the stock market. We're trying to break down barriers to really thought that the stock market is unachievable or something that only the rich participate in. And that's just not true. I think the people who need to be participating in the stock market most are those that need it most. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the message, and good luck in your investment future.